It's Shar. Welcome back to my channel. We're gonna pretend that I look okay today, and that's gonna be okay with everyone. But hi, it's happy June, which means it is time for a May wrap up. We're gonna keep this short and sweet. In May, I had delusions that I could read 9 books. I couldn't. You know, I just have to get to the point where I can accept that I'm at a different phase in my life right now, and I have multiple hobbies now. So I can't read 10 to 20 books a month, and that just has to be okay for me. In May, I read 4 books, and of those 4 books that I read, 2 of them were audiobooks, 2 of them were ebooks. I gave one of those books 2 stars, and I gave 3 of those books 4 stars, and my average rating was a 3.5. I also set a May TBR, a little bit of a refresher for you. I'll also have the video linked in case you want to see what my May TBR was. I said that I would stick to a TBR, so I had on my TBR Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston, the love lyric by Christina Forrest, Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt, Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Stone, Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young, Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan, The Devil She Knows by Alexandria Belflor, The Jasad Air by Sarah Hashem, and The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget. I'm forgetting her last name. I realized in hindsight that I also meant to add Great Big Beautiful Life to that list, and I completely forgot to do so. So the amount of my TBR that I finished in May was 3 books, and there's 1 book that I started and did not finish that was on that list. So let's jump into the books that I read and whether or not I would recommend them to you. I read Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, which is the story of a woman who is a journalist and is trying to get the opportunity to interview a famous, very, very wealthy woman who was married to a rock star and then disappeared, and she's competing with this other person who's a well-established, celebrity memoirist. It's their love story, but you're also trying to figure out what's going on with this woman and her history. Regardless of what Reese's Book Club says, this is not a thriller. It's not a thriller by any definition of the word. With that said, though, I did enjoy this as much as I could. You all know I have a very up and down relationship with Emily Henry, but I thought this one was solid. With that said, the big reveal happened at the very end of the book, and then we don't see any of the fallout from the big reveal, and that is something that I wish that we had. And I have to speak in codes here because I can't spoil it for you. Just know that I was left feeling unsatisfied, which is why it was a 4-star read, but I did think this was a very romantic story in terms of the actual focus and emphasis on the relationship itself. Then I entered my demon time. I went back to Jessica Kane. I read My Husband, My Stalker, and let me tell you, I only know shame. Jessica Kane does daddy kink, and listen, sometimes that really works for me. Okay, I just wanted a spicy little book. So I read that, and I was like, yeah, the sex scenes are good, because they're always good. But I always remember that Lacey, who I'm going to have linked below the specific video that I'm talking about, did a ranking of Jessica Kane books, and one of the rankings was Jessica Kane needs to go to therapy. That's where this book belongs. When I tell you, my dude was like, if I'm not fucking you, I will kill you. And at some point, he's choking her out in bed, and she's like, and I really fear that this time he's going to kill me, but it's okay because we'll find each other in every lifetime. This is best friend's little sister. So we're following his POV primarily. I only know shame. And that's my review of it. Would I recommend this to you? If you're horny, sure. Then I read Married to the Alien Cowboy because of course I returned to my monster romance roots. This cover I think is so cute. So this is following a woman named Cherry, and Cherry lives in this version of reality where Earth doesn't exist anymore. She lives on something called Terra Tribe 4 or something like that, and she's in trouble. She's in trouble. She borrowed some money because she was late on her rent, and she borrowed it from the mafia. Why would she go and do that? I don't know, but she did go and do that, right? She was struggling with finances. I understand that, so she feels like she has no other option than to go to the mafia. So she does that, and lo and behold, that girl can't actually afford to pay this man back, and so he's coming to collect his dues, by which, I mean, she's gonna be swimming with the fishes. How Terra Tribe 1 has a sea, I don't know, but there is still a sea, and they still use that phrase. As she's running, she sees this advertisement for like this colony in space that are looking for essentially mail order brides. And she's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. The only way I'm surviving this is if I'm not on Terra Tribe 4, 2, whichever one I said it was, when this man comes for me. So she escapes and she meets her new husband. The thing is, she doesn't read all of the terms and conditions of this and doesn't realize that this alien planet where her husband is a rancher on is a prison planet, actually. And they're all there because they have committed heinous crimes. I really enjoyed this for like the sweet, slow build of the relationship. I wouldn't call this grumpy sunshine, but I would say that he's very stoic while she is very open and sunshiny. He's also a virgin hero. We have a little bit of like the teach me aspects coming from her. So she's the one teaching him, as well as her just being like super into her man and him being super protective. It's a very short and sweet read. I think it gets the job done for an alien sci-fi romance. And so yes, if you like alien romances, I would recommend you I Married an Alien Cowboy. And I do describe this as, and I stand by this, if Ice Planet Barbarians was also on the Rebel Blue Ranch, like the Lila Sage series, if those two came together, it would be this one. And the final book that I finished in May was No Ordinary Love by Maya Ariel. This is the only book, well, I just lied. Wow. This is another book that was also not on my May TBR because of course my brain says, hey, I heard you thought that you're a TBR reader now. Let me remind you that you're a mood reader. So that's what happened. So I read No Ordinary Love, and this is the story of Ella Simone. And Ella is a very famous like R&B soul pop musician. She's top of her game right now. She's been in the industry for like 10 plus years, and she is divorcing her husband. Now Ella married Elliot Majors, I think is his name, when she was 19 years old, and he was much, much, much older than her and was also her music producer. So she thinks that she's madly in love with this man. So she signs this prenup that essentially signs away all the rights to her music and would also make her responsible for spousal support of Elliot Majors. That's not good for her. That's not good for her, right? For the 10 years that they are together and in a relationship and married, this man is publicly cheating on her all over the place. And she finally gets sick of it and is like, nah, I'm out, I'm leaving you. We open up with Ella going through the initial stages of her divorce, and then she is presenting at the equivalent of like the Grammys, or is the Grammys, I think. And she's presenting with this baseball player named Miles. Now, Miles has also gone through his very own messy divorce because his wife cheated on him with his teammate. And Ella has a wardrobe malfunction right before they're gonna go on stage to present. I'm talking less than 30 seconds before. She doesn't have time to change, so Miles takes the shirt off of his back, just puts on his blazer, and she's wearing his very oversized shirt. Her stylist quickly like kind of tucks it in so that it looks intentional, and they go out and they present. Of course, this causes a media scandal, and everyone's like, why was she wearing his shirt? She wasn't wearing that this whole time. And why does this man not have a shirt on? Someone backstage lies and was like, yeah, they were fucking. They were not fucking. However, their PR agencies decided to take the opportunity to kind of do this promotion of her new song and just say like, oh, they're working together for this music video. That's the only thing that happened. It was a wardrobe malfunction. It also complicates the divorce proceedings on her end, and you're really following the story of how she comes back into herself, as well as her struggle for independence and the rights to her own music. The way I describe this is if All Too Well 10-minute version was also woulda, coulda, shoulda meets Reputation. Like, that's how this book felt to me in terms of the conversations about how women are treated in media, perceptions of Ella, and people kind of changing the narrative and saying that she was the one cheating despite the years and years and years of public evidence that her husband was the one cheating, as well as just generally conversations about musicians and their rights to own their own songs, as well as being taken advantage of by people who have a lot more power than they do. So I did really enjoy this one. I give it a solid 4-star read, and I think the reason that is because I wanted more depth of the characters. While it is very deep in its conversations and in the premise and the plot of the story, and the writing was also phenomenal, I do think that the characters needed to be a little bit more well developed and the relationship needed to be a bit more front and center. I was happy that they were together, but to me it felt like a happy for now as opposed to a happily ever after. Would I recommend this book to you? Yes. yes, I would recommend this book to you. So for the book that I have in progress, it's Not Another Love Song by Ashley Poston. I am almost done with this. I have like an hour left of the audiobook. Now this is following a woman who is a music writer, a songwriter, and she writes for the stars, and she's feeling burnout, and she goes to this concert for one of her clients where she meets Sebastian Feld, and Sebastian Feld was an ex-boy band member. Think like a NSYNC kind of situation, right? He's very cocky and arrogant at first, and she does not like this man, but she goes back to her hometown where her mother has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and she's kind of talking about her grief around this, the things that she is dealing with, family, and how everything has changed while she's left. She also has this tune in her head that she can't get rid of. Then one day she hears a voice speaking to her. And I mean that literally, there's a voice speaking to her because Sebastian Feld and her are now sharing thoughts. They can hear each other's thoughts, and so you're following their love story as they come together to write this love song. Like all of Ashley Poston's books, it's going to have this speculative element. I'm enjoying the paranormal aspects of it, and though I did not like Sebastian at first, he definitely is growing on me as a character. Now, I know many people who said that this is comparable to the 7-Year Slip in terms of how much they enjoyed the story. However, I personally am not feeling that way. The 7-Year Slip was my perfect book, and I think it's really hard to top that, but I also think that's a very unfair expectation to have. I have not quite finished it yet, so I don't have a final rating for you, but at some point in the month of June or in my June wrap up, you will hear my final thoughts on this one. And the book that I DNF'd for now was Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt. And the reason I did that is just when I was listening to the audiobook, I felt a little bit lost. It's an interconnected standalone, so it does follow Savor It. I didn't feel any connection to the characters, and I feel like we're just kind of thrown right in with these letters between her and her husband, who's a firefighter, or her ex-husband at this point. And because I felt so lost and confused, I decided that I just did not have the brain cells to process this story right now, and that I would in fact go back to it later. So besties, that is it. Those are all of the books that I read in May. This is a short and sweet video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I love and appreciate you all so, so much. Thank you to every single person who ever takes the time out of their day to leave a comment, to watch this video, to like the video, to share it, or even to subscribe. I love you all with my whole heart, and I will see you in my next video at some point, because you all know my schedule has been coming for me. So I'll see you at some point. Bye, y'all.